My name is Jamisha. I am 47 and I am a Black mother.
Hello, my name is Lena and my occupation is a business owner, and I work as a spiritual healer and an author.
My name is Tani. I am 42 and I'm your aunt.
I have one child and he was born in 2019.
I have two children. My first was born in 1997 and my second child was born in 2008.
I have three children. One was born in 2004, one was born in 2007, and the other was born in 2011.
I gave birth in Aviano, Italy, and I gave birth in the hospital vaginally.
All three of them were born in Montgomery County, Maryland, and all three were delivered via C-section.
I gave birth to my first beautiful daughter in Chesapeake, Virginia, Chesapeake General Hospital, and my second child I gave birth to in Washington, D.C. The first child was vaginal, my second child was through a C-section.
I did have a few experiences throughout the pregnancy where I tried to explain that I was having some difficulty.
Certain things started being triggered in my mind, things that I experienced with my sister, who went to the hospital. She was bleeding in pain, and they just kind of pushed her to the side, told her she's having a miscarriage, and acted like it was no big deal.
My second child, I almost miscarried when he was 6 months. I remember the experience like it was yesterday. I was in the bed and I just started clotting. My husband and I went to the nearest hospital, which happened to be closed, and then my mother came with us as well.
OBGYN told me I was being dramatic, and she told me that nothing was wrong, although she didn't check me at all.
And also with the care of my father, there were many times we had to make sure they were being more careful with him, not hurting him. The way they were moving him was just as if he was not in pain. I had to write signs that said, fragile, handle with care.
A couple weeks later, I went again, and she was very rude. I switched to hospital after that. I ended up picking a new OBGYN at a different hospital, and a few days after my first appointment, I started to bleed again, which is what I was telling the old OBGYN, and she told me I was being dramatic. And when I went into this new hospital, they actually asked me why I didn't tell them sooner, because they could see that my cervix was preparing for birth and it was opening, and I was probably going to end up going into preterm labor.
The second hospital I went to was an emergency room, and I was afraid to get out of the vehicle and walk because I didn't want to lose my son. And so I asked my mom and my husband to go in and ask for a wheelchair.
They told me I might want to call my family and stuff because my son may not make it because he was so young.
I recall hearing them say that the person at the desk was telling them that I was just having a miscarriage, as if it was very insensitive.
At that time, I was pretty upset with the other doctor because I felt, or the OBGYN, because I felt if she had just listened to me, taken me serious, and checked me out for the issues that I said I had.
It took hours in order for my son to be checked on. It took enough time for my dad to come. So my dad was there, my husband was there, my mom was there.
I wasn't sure if my son was gonna make it, and I was angry that I wasn't listened to by that OBGYN.
Probably like 5 a.m. when I was given water and I passed another blood clot. And that is when the doctors decided, okay, well, I guess we'll check on the child, because they believed that that he was dying, that I was just having a miscarriage. And so after hours of waiting, they finally checked on him and he was dancing and moving around, so to speak, right? It was a negative experience because they would have checked on him earlier. I do think it has something to do with his autism today. He did live. He's still alive today. He's still thriving today. But I do think because they didn't pay attention more, that there are some effects that happen throughout, that will happen throughout his lifetime because they didn't pay attention. Did I feel seen? I definitely felt seen. My husband was seen. I think my daughter is seen. I think society sees Black people as Black people. So yeah, we're seen.
No, definitely not my sister.
Absolutely not with my first OBGYN. She said a lot of very rude things and she treated me like I wasn't smart.
I think we're dismissed. I think we're heard, but we're dismissed. I think we're heard, but we're not cared for. I think we're heard, but we're not respected.
Definitely, I don't feel like my sister was taken seriously about what she was going through.
She was quite disrespectful. She said a lot of things that were very rude and as if I was too young.
So are we seen or heard? Yeah, we're seen as Black people and we're heard as Black people, but we're not seen and heard as humans.
But once I found my new OBGYN, I felt like they took me more serious and they paid attention to me, and I was very grateful for that.
My sisters, my mom, and I made the doctors take us seriously about our father's pain, and I still don't know that they ever took it serious.
I wish that my first doctor had taken me serious. I wish that she had checked me when I felt there was something serious. My pregnancy wasn't even the only experience that I've had where doctors didn't listen thoroughly to me and didn't check me. So going through that while I was pregnant as well was just like a reoccurring experience.
So we're seen, heard, and ignored.
As far as my care and during my pregnancy, I feel like my experience may be a little bit different because my doctors were of color.
Absolutely. I also want to add age to that. I think that my age was like, you're too young to have a kid. I was 22.
Guess the best way to answer is to say that both of them were Black.
And I'm not sure if she was racist, but of course, racism definitely does play a role in medical care.
You hear the stories and know the stories of other Black women, mothers, whose children are not cared for because they are Black.
Both of them were Black. Both of them were treated as if their pain didn't matter and they weren't taken seriously.
I do know the story of my son, and I do know that I'm a Black woman. I'm carrying a Black child.
I feel like my different classifications played a role in that.
With certain medical professionals, if they see that my insurance doesn't cover a specific need or something specifically that I'm asking or saying that I need, they don't want to discuss it with me. Have to just assume they think that I can't pay this out of pocket.
Absolutely. The first, I want to say 24 weeks, I felt as if my child was in danger. I had contractions starting early in the pregnancy and I would let the doctor know and she did not listen.
So, being a Black woman, I've lost a child before, and I know there's a lot of us that have lost children. Sometimes we accept it because it is what it is in this world. But for our children, we don't want them to, I've heard my sister say this over and over again, and what we don't resolve, our children will inherit. So to be pregnant with a child, I don't want my child to inherit not being cared for, loved.
I was bleeding and I bled a lot. And it was like I was still having a period or something and she didn't take it serious.
In this society today, there's little value and care for Black boys like mine, who I love.
But I can only imagine with somebody that they respect, the care that they provide to someone that they respect.
In the medical field, they need to pay attention more when a Black mother knows that her baby is still there and they just believe the baby's dying when the baby is alive.
I would like to say to health professionals, society in general, medical professionals, and organizations that Black communities are in need of more resources and access.
Take time to view us as humans and people that are loved.
Your respect should not depend on what someone looks like or their classification. It should depend on how much you respect people based off of how much you respect yourself.
Accountability has to be taken into place. Assess yourself. Support all people, especially Black people who are looked and viewed as something that is not valued. We are valuable. We are important. We are loved.
Thank you so much, Aubriana, for having me, and see ya.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay. Good.